Hello, this is the fast version of the meaning of life. I'm going to go through these images really quickly now. You shouldn't be surprised that in the end it's love. We're going to talk about this really soon. But it leads to this, which is a path to 100% mental well-being in the shortest possible way for any individual. And I call this enlightenment because for most people, they're going to experience that overwhelm of liberation and relief that comes with a sudden transition into a good way to be. It's actually called a way to be, and we're going to talk about that really quickly in this video. We're going to be talking about the derivation of love equals energy in this video. And the other thing that comes from this meaning of life is this list of things: the end of war, the end of bullying, the end of loneliness, and the unity of science and religion. This formula is also going to lead to us not just doubling our efforts to solve fusion and global warming, but it will be by a factor of about 10,000. It's going to be massive, and it's going to be like a sports final. We're all going to be on the page of chasing down the answers to fusion and global warming, because once that's done, we're all living in bliss. I'm going to go past these first two diagrams because they're both introductory, and we're just doing the fast version right now. In fact, this one as well. This one highlights that we shouldn't be surprised that love is the answer to everything. Now, this one is more sensible in the sense that it asks, who were we 10,000 years ago? Um, when we first put our handprint on the wall, we we weren't surrounded by all the knowledge and the modern technology that we have today. So who were we back then? We were living in a natural, heart-based society. And this is the attributes of a human being. We are love, family, community, purpose, motivation, rapport, curiosity, and creativity. We live enthusiastically from our hearts when we are well. But in the last few hundred years, our society's been run by the intellect, by science and logic. And so we have these features of the modern world, and these aren't who we are, these are just tools. There is logic, science, efficiency, the law, economics, education, welfare, and systems. Ultimately, we need to tie the intellect back to the heart in order for us to have direction and real purpose. Now, this is the scientific view of the universe. And I start by saying that if we have a tree and we don't know what it is and it grows some apples, then it's an apple tree. Likewise with the universe, it started with a quantum bit, but it's ended up fruiting us. And we are love. This is our 3-pound miracle of our consciousness. This diagram's also here to say that we weren't just popped into the middle of the universe sometime. We are as much a part of the universe as as everything else that is in the universe. Ultimately, this diagram says that we are in a love universe because that's what the universe is growing. So how do we take the next step? Love, in its current form, is an internal experience, but we wanted to make it more of an external thing. So at the moment, it's kindness and our sense of community. But if we take our brain out with the spinal cord and put it on a table, it will die. So we need to include the heart and the lungs and the stomach, everything else. That is to say, a full human being is what we need to start with when we're talking about consciousness. So, uh, what's good for a human being is food and water, all of these things. So, that's how we start. We're going to start by saying love scientifically equals everything that's good for a human being. When somebody brings you food, it's an act of love. If somebody builds you a house, it's an act of love. So, everything that's good for a human being, that's how we start. When we think of a rabbit needs to burrow into the soil. So that would be part of rabbit love because it's a requirement for the rabbit species. For all plants, they need nutrients in the soil. Again, a requirement for every species for it to thrive and go on in the next frame of the universe, of the love universe. So you see, when anything is surrounded by the conditions of love, that allow that item to thrive, then that's what goes on. But we can go down a level. If we take a cell out of our arm and put it on a table, it will die. The cell has to be surrounded by cellular love, the right other things in order for that cell to function and to go on in this love universe. But even below cellular love, there's molecular love and even quantum mechanical love, insofar as everything that exists is only exists because it's been in the right conditions to exist and go on in this love universe. When we consider that seriously, and you'll all have to do that for yourselves in a quiet moment, you can realize that it's very true to say that love is now also the quantum mechanical process of our evolving universe. I'll give you time to soak that in. It leads to this formula: love equals energy, which is to say that we are love in a universe of love. On the one side, there's consciousness. On the other side, there's everything outside of consciousness. And this formula is now going to deliver us a way to be, which is the shortest path to enlightenment or 100% well-being. These diagrams describe what's going on in the world today. These are pretty diagrams, but they are foundationally 100% right. All psychologists, all sensible people in the field will look at these and say, yep, they're good summaries of what's actually going on. So we start here in natural wellness. This is a happy person living in a world of love. We have inspiration, curiosity, motivation, connection, enjoyment. Those are those heart attributes that we saw in that other diagram to do with original farmer's mind. All the doors are open around this person because there are opportunities everywhere, and beyond those opportunities are more opportunities. And we like to help those people even, don't we? But as individuals and as a society, we are currently all living somewhere down here. This is being disheartened. We can't avoid that. I'm going to talk about that in a second. But ultimately, we label it depression, and it's living in a world of fear. Because of our fear program, we react and we change our personalities. We live then in a world of anger, suspicion, skepticism, cynicism, reclusiveness. We close the doors, and this becomes a really stuck place. In the course of moving ourselves from here across to here, when we do it quickly, like we will in A Way to Be, there's that sense of enlightenment that you're going to get. This diagram here says that we had no choice but to be hurt. When we're born, we are in the mouse maze, or we are in the water struggling, just trying to survive. But if we're lucky, we have this moment. It's called Know Thyself. When we get to view everything in our past and deal with it in a way that's sensible and healthy, we from that point are able to live in this manner and realize how everything works so darn well. So this is page 1 of A Way to Be. We're going to move right on. We've got a couple of diagrams that can be really useful. Now, I know this is the right way to go because nobody gets left behind. I call this the Jesus diagram, and I call this the Buddha diagram. This is the Jesus diagram because it says that we are love. Even before we're born, everything is love. Now, we know that there are spiritual, mystical things attached to the Jesus story, but those belong in those times of 2,000 years ago. In the modern age, we can start to talk more about the words of Jesus instead of the stories about Jesus. That would make sense. Um, Once we're born, though, the fear program hits, and then we have fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. We're just going to add a word, formulate. When we add formulate, our love shines through, does not get ruined by the fear program. So this is ideal, and we can teach this immediately in schools. The Buddhist diagram is that because it shows representations of the ego. On the first bulb, it shows a theoretical bulb, which is perfect and shows all the light shining through. But as we saw in the other diagram, we have no choice. As when we're young, even at 10, we have sensitivities and our light has reduced somewhat. By the time we're 20, we've developed some quite strong sensitivities and the light is even less in a lot of cases. So what we need to do is we're going to use love. That is the KFAG model, which is love broken up into 4 separate pieces. KFAG stands for kindness, forgiveness, acceptance, and gratitude. When we use that in the right way, we end up being able to clean our bulb so that all of the light shines through it again. This is the first step in our 3-step process right now, because this is the actual KFAG model sheet and it explains exactly what the process will be. That will feature in the longer video, But once we've dealt with our past, which is in line with all therapeutic knowledge, the next thing that we need to do is make a communication recovery. Because, of course, the way we speak, the way we walk, the way we talk and dress and stand, these are also affected by that fear program. So, by doing communication recovery, we know what the goal is. We can tilt our autopilot back into being a really good communicator. Step 3 is simply maintenance. We're going to talk about that more in the long version, which goes in a couple of hours, 2.5 hours actually. So this is the one that's really surprising for us in terms of the viewpoint. Our civilization has been one of two stories up to this point. One is the story of bullying. We're living in a world of fear. When we're living in a world of fear, r- rubbish happens. People get killed, whole villages. And back in those times, nobody had anybody to complain to. Whatever happened was just that was what happened. But concurrent to this story of living in fear and bullying is this other story where we have people working out who we are. Love equals energy is the culmination of this story. And it occurs right now in this moment when we're all connected. So we can basically all represent all those poor souls who lost their lives and say, we are love. Love equals energy, and that's what humanity represents. And from now on, we want to put that in the sand, a stake in the sand, and say, love equals energy. When we do that, we're shaking off our animal origins, that fear program, that part of us that we don't want. Ultimately, this is such a coincidence that this is all happening at the right time. It's safe to assume this is the proper time for this to happen. We've got the support of all the world, and all the biggest companies in the world will jump at this because they are us too. And keep in mind that the future goes on eternally, and this whole period that we're talking about here will just be seen as a blip. This is the moment that humanity becomes a species of higher awareness. It's going to lead to immediate solving of a lot of our problems. In fact, all of our problems. This is the reconfiguration of knowledge. In the middle of it will be love equals energy. Around that will be a way to be, that short path to enlightenment. Around that will be human history, and around that is all human knowledge radiating out. One of these companies, or all of them, will create this digitally online so that we have education made available free to every human being, because the better educated we are, the better we all are. Once experts agree with this, once we've been on the podcast with this information and all the experts are weighing in, then governments will get licensed to be able to say to their education ministers, get this in the schools immediately. That means within a year or two, we're going to have really mentally healthy and strong, capable students graduating from high schools all around the world. We can throw away the doomsday clock at that point, and we'll all be facing the same way in solving this thing with regards to fusion and global warming. Now, there's a massive 10-year party about to start because on the one side of our societies, we have natural wisdom, which is held by religion. And on the other side, we have natural logic, which is held by science. Normally, these two sides, they don't bother talking to each other. But it's the split between the intellect and the heart. But when we put love equals energy in the middle, and we see what it represents, 100% wellness for all people, and that this is Jesus' formula. Jesus is the one who said that everything is love. Both sides are going to grab onto it enthusiastically. That's not to say they will do so in the first 10 minutes upon hearing this new news, but after just a day of consideration, the results will be in, everybody's going to be on board. So what's going to happen is the churches won't really even have to talk about the words of Jesus too much because we recognize them. They are the ones Jesus was talking about, our hearts. So what will happen is that all the places around all of our towns where there are temples, churches, places of worship, I imagine they'll be all open on a Sunday, all day, serving free tea and cakes, which will be supplied by local businesses. There will be entertainment, there will be selling stalls, there will be dances, there will be all sorts of things. And so the people who are becoming well at home have got a place to come out. Singles can meet other singles, couples can meet other couples, and all of us will inhabit the three identities of priest, scientist, and artist, insofar as we'll all become very expressive and happy people. over 20 years, the people in China and Russia will also get this information and will all gradually relax to the point where in 20 years' time, nobody even considers war as a solution to anything. So I'll finish this quickly now. These 12 images show the way forward to end all human suffering. We can trust this path. It's free, scalable, unifying, fully transparent. It's almost instant. It can be communicated using 12 images alone, and it's fully in accord with all human knowledge. Notebook, there are 0 other paths to human global well-being. So this is it, folks. Love equals energy is our origin story. It is the meaning of life. This is going to change the world almost immediately in a massively, massively good way. Okay, go and see the longer video and get me on your podcasts. This information is not going to do anything if we don't get it out into the world. Put Love Equals Energy on your website if you have one. Just put yourself in to say that this is what we represent from this point on. Okay, thanks very much. Watch the longer video.